Hello, this is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan. Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, or iHeartRadio. This is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan. Alright, we have some pretty good stuff today. The NBA draft, apparently, that's tomorrow, right? I don't know. I have like one thought on that, really. Got a lot of NBA talk actually today, more than I normally have. A little bit of NFL, normal day. Alright. So the Magic are evaluating their options at the number 1 pick. There's one very interesting player in this draft. It's Chet Holmgren. He's interesting because he's built a lot like KD. Kind of actually a lot like KD. And a little bit like, Giannis when he first came in the league. Or a Kristaps Porzingis, And all these guys, succeeded. But they had a lot of injuries. I mean, not Giannis, but KD has his fair share of injuries. I think, Porzingis obviously got destroyed by injuries. The difference with people like Giannis and Brandon Ingram is they became all-stars through tremendous work ethic. If you look at pictures of Giannis, his rookie year to Giannis currently, rookie year Giannis looks like he can be current Giannis' son. I'll put it that way. He has, I think, put on 50 pounds of muscle. He even grew 2 inches. I don't know how that happened, but he grew 2 inches in his 20s, so that happened. Now, if he was going to get picked in the top 3, which I think he will, I think it's going to be by the Thunder, because they have 4 picks in this draft. They have the 2nd overall pick, and then after that they have 3 others. And they relatively draft actually pretty well, so I think drafting Holmgren would be a smart choice for the Thunder, because they have other picks. Like, it's not like Holmgren has to be a big hit in the draft. He could be a bust because they have 3 other picks that they can possibly hit on. So I think the best team to pick him was the Thunder. Magic, I think, will be a little risky, especially it's the number 1 pick. There's a lot of expectations around the number 1 pick. If he turns out to be a bust, and he honestly has a decent chance of turning out to be a bust, the Magic, it's not a good look for them. The Thunder, they can easily recover from that with the other 3 picks they have. Alright. Okay. Just gonna go to some trending news here. So, gonna give you my source here. Jonathan Givony said that Russell Westbrook and Talen Horton-Tucker were offered to the Pacers in a trade package. It was denied. The talks did not go very far. Pacers did not accept. The talks went nowhere. And honestly, I think the Pacers are fine doing that, because the Pacers, they're actually headed in the right direction. I think getting Westbrook would send them in the wrong direction, because he, pretty much, first of all, he's in the back of his career. He's aging, while the Pacers are actually an up-and-coming team. You know, they got Malcolm Brogdon. He's a great player. He can run the point. You don't need Russell Westbrook. You know, it's more than fine that they denied that trade. So Zion Williamson posted a new hype video for his Jordan Zion 2s. And, you know, I think it's great when NBA players are good at selling their shoes, you know. LeBron was good at that for a while. Jordan was phenomenal at it in the 90s. You know, like, Curry isn't the best seller. He doesn't really sell his shoes aren't very popular, you know. But, you know, Zion and, you know, Jordan and LeBron, you know, they all sold shoes pretty damn well. And you know what was great? Zion actually looks pretty slimmed down, you know? I like watching workout videos because they... You know, honestly... seeing workout videos can kind of tell you how an NBA player is doing in the off-season. You know, how much work he's actually putting in. And by the way, the Zion 2s are actually supposed to be pretty high-tech. From what I hear. Hold on. I gotta look at this. There's like a list. So, it is built to allow Williamson to be fully locked in on the court. It is lightweight. And it is designed to remain comfortable under the extreme duress of Williamson's unique athletic gifts. So, you know, like jumping all over the place, dunking on people. You know. So they're designed to be comfortable for him. It is segmented into 3 key areas. The heel for impact resistance. The middle for resilience and containment. And the toes for comfort and mobility. And finally, where is that? It says I think it says subtle details throughout the Jordan Zion 2 evoke his drive. So some of it is really just for Williamson, but it looks like it's going to be better. He'll get injured. It's supposed to decrease the chances of him getting hurt, it seems like. Like, that's the overall point of them. And that's good because Zion gets hurt a lot. And that's not a good thing. You know, so I don't know. I think he should be good next season. I think he should be. Because his rookie year, there was a case made for him for Rookie of the Year, but it was clearly John Morant. Because he played the whole season. You know, he was just better. And then Zion kind of fell off this year. But Zion was great his rookie year. So I think when he's healthy, that's the problem with these kind of players. Like, kind of like Anthony Davis and Zion. You know, they are phenomenal when they play, but they're always injured, so it's really a big pros and cons when you have them on your team, you know. You got a great player for, like, 50 games of the season, but what about the other 30? Because you can't go 50-0 in those 50 games that they're there. You're going to lose a lot of games. And you have 30 where they're not there. And that's just not going to be better. So, I mean, I don't know. He should. I think he'll be good this year. But we'll see if I'm wrong, because I can easily be wrong. So, CeeDee Lamb spoke about, not even possibly, pretty much being the number 1 receiver for the Cowboys this year. Said it raised the standard. And, you know, he's definitely number 1 talent. It's probably, like, the only part of the Cowboys that I'm not questioning. You know, Dak Prescott's good, but I don't think he can carry the offense. I think Ezekiel Elliott is not good. I honestly think they'd be better if they made Tony Pollard the number 1 running back on that team. You know, I do have a lot of questions for them. I don't know. I don't really think McCarthy's the Super Bowl winning coach. Really? I mean, I really don't think he's the best coach. McCarthy, number one. And then, the crazy thing is, with the Cowboys, my biggest problem is they are in the NFC East, the worst division in football. And they barely make the playoffs every year. And they can barely be better than average. They're normally like an 8-8, 8-9, or 8-9 team with a new format. You know, they're so remarkably average, and they think about it. They have 6 games a year where they play the Giants, Commanders, and the Eagles. And up until this year, the Eagles were a pretty subpar team. But now they're getting better. And now guess what? The Eagles are going to make the playoffs and the Cowboys aren't. Because the Cowboys are overrated. And you're going to need a lot of people to stop pretending that they're good. But no one ever will. You're always going to have the delusional fans that are going to believe that they are America's team, that they are dominant. They are not. They are subpar. And a lot of America doesn't like them. So I don't know how they could be America's team, but you know. That's all I gotta say. Alright. So I am going to... Actually, I've gotta end the music right now. I'm going to explain to you guys... Now, I haven't made very full predictions for the NFL season yet. I don't even know if I am, because I don't want to embarrass myself like I have the last, year and a half. But I think I can tell you the people that are going to come in last place for most divisions. I think the Giants for the NFC East are going to come in last. The Eagles are actually decently promising. The Cowboys are average. They have their problems, but they also have a few positions, like I just said, CeeDee Lamb in the receiving core that I do like. I do like CeeDee Lamb. Even without Amari Cooper, I don't think that's a terrible receiving core. And I do like Dak Prescott. I think the problem is they pay him so much, so they can't go out in free agency and get any top players because they used all their salary cap on a quarterback, which isn't a terrible idea, but it's going to keep you from winning a lot of games against top teams. NFC North, I have the Lions or Bears. I'm leaning towards the Lions. The Lions actually showed some promise last year. The Lions seem to be heading kind of up while the Bears are headed way down. Justin Fields, he's headed into year 2. Maybe he has a good sophomore year. But I have the Lions at 9th on how close teams without a Super Bowl are to winning a Super Bowl, So the Lions aren't really that close right now, but I think they are getting better. I'm going to say the Lions are the last place team. For the NFC South, take the Falcons, which is a tough choice. I don't think the Saints are going to be worse than the Falcons, because the Falcons are kind of in a rebuild right now. They don't have Calvin Ridley. They got rid of Matt Ryan. So I don't think the Saints are going to be completely out of the water. They still have some talent on their team. The Bucks are going to be fine. Like I said yesterday, they got a lot of offensive weapons, even without Gronk, And you always got Brady, so they're never going to be out of the mix. And then you got the Panthers, it was tough deciding who was in a worse situation, the Falcons or the Panthers. I landed on the Falcons because, like I said, they're in a full rebuild mode. The Panthers just got to get a few guys healthy, and they aren't that bad, even though their quarterback situation is pretty rough. If they can get Christian McCaffrey healthy, they do have one of the most versatile running backs in the game. So they're not in a worse situation than the Falcons right now. And then I think it's easy for the NFC West. It's the Seahawks. The Rams just won a Super Bowl. They just kept most of their players. They really got better, I think, from last from last season. Niners, they made the NFC Championship last year. They have a rough quarterback situation, but I don't think they're in a worse situation than the Seahawks, because they have an even worse situation at quarterback. Then there is the Cardinals, who were the number 1 seed for a while last year. So I want to get too down on the Cardinals. Now, for the AFC, I think I'm leaning towards the Jets finishing in last again. For the AFC East, I mean, I think the Bills are going to win it. And then, the Dolphins, I think, are a little more talented than the Jets. And the Pats, I think, are a little more talented as well. But I wouldn't be too surprised if the Jets were able to beat out the Pats this year. But we'll see what happens. And then the South, I'm really torn. I have no idea. Texans or Jags. I mean, I think the Jags, if they can just get Trevor Lawrence on the right path, I think they're in a better situation. So I think I'm going to go with the Texans for the South. AFC West, I give up. I got no idea. Broncos are in a good spot. They got their quarterback, which I think is really what they were lacking. Raiders are good. They have a great offense. Chiefs are the Chiefs. Although they did lose Tyreek Hill, so they're the team I'm probably most skeptical of in the West right now. Then the Chargers are only getting better. So I give up. I got no idea who is the worst in the West. But the AFC North, I have no idea. I have an idea, actually. It's not going to be the Ravens or the Bengals. The Ravens are going to come back fully healthy next year. And the Bengals are coming off a Super Bowl loss, so they're going to have a lot to prove. And they're only going to get better too. I mean, Joe Burrow should come back even better than he was last year. So I don't think the Bengals are coming in last. I don't think the Ravens are coming in last. It's going to be the Steelers or the Browns. Now, the Browns, the crazy thing is they got a lot of talent, and the Steelers don't. But the Steelers at least know where they're going. They know what's going to happen in the season. The Browns don't even know if they're going to have a quarterback during the season. Because I think Watson is probably going to get suspended. Again, I'm not really sure. I don't know what's going on with the NFL right now. But there's a good chance Watson gets suspended, and I don't know how much Baker is going to want to come play for you. Because you got that whole dispute right now. So I mean, I think I don't know. That's the one I can't decide on, But just to recap, Giants for the NFC East, Lions for the North, Falcons for the South, Seahawks for the NFC West, Jets for the AFC East, Texans for the AFC South. I had no idea on the West or North. Alright, so Rob Gronkowski retired for the second time in his career. I think Tom Brady was on the Dan Patrick Show, I think a week ago. And, I think it might be time for him to step away, because he did step away. He retired. Then he came out of retirement. So, I think he wanted to come back for one more year. I don't know. But he did admit that he is losing some of his competitive fire for the game. So I think he will It's a little risky saying this, but I think he will retire officially. I'm not entirely sure, but I think he might. After the season, But we'll see what happens. I mean, we thought he retired officially 4 months ago, so we'll see. Alright, so apparently Kyrie Irving would hold second practices after Steve Nash's sessions. This doesn't really shock me too much. Obviously, Kyrie thought his his practices that he ran were ineffective. Clearly, Kyrie's wasn't too effective either because they were the only team to get swept in the playoffs. And by the way, Kyrie, you got swept by your former team that you decided to leave. So that looks great for you. It's just as bad as how KD looks. KD looks terrible because team he left because he left the Warriors 3 years ago. And in those 3 years, KD has not gotten past the second round. The Warriors have won a championship. And the same goes for Kyrie. It's just a bad luck, really, overall, for Kyrie and KD. All right, let's shift over to the Celtics. So Brad Stevens had a press conference. He kind of went over what he thinks the Celtics, have to get, what they have to get better at for next season. He said they have to add more scoring, which he isn't entirely wrong with. I mean, because their strength was defense. Their problem was their offense wasn't really able to get going, because the last 3 games of that series against the Warriors, by the way, the Warriors won all 3 of those games. The Celtics didn't score over 100 points. They were held to under 100 points, and even though that wouldn't have been a big deal 30 years ago, now it's normal in basketball to put up 100 points or more. So, yes, they do need more scoring. And honestly, a great thing for them to get, and I know they tried it twice already, it's a focal point, mainly, score first offensive guy. They had the right idea with Kyrie and Kemba Walker, but Kemba Walker, his knee went to hell, and then Kyrie just didn't work out. But the Celtics, I think they're on the right path. If they can get some scoring, then they are headed in the right direction. All right. So, I'm going to go back to Gronk, because I have another thought, not necessarily about him retiring, but about him being the last great offensive pick for the Patriots. It was Gronk. Mac Jones was okay. Wasn't a great offensive pick for them. But Gronk, he was their last good offensive pick, and I think it was 2010. It's just look at how defensive coaches have fared in the last few years. In 2021, Bill Belichick, defensive coach, wild card loss. Brian Flores missed the playoffs, got fired. Robert Saleh missed the playoffs. Mike Tomlin, wild card exit. Mike Vrabel, second round exit. Vic Fangio missed playoffs, fired. Ron Rivera missed playoffs. Mike Zimmer missed playoffs, fired. Pete Carroll missed the playoffs. Yeah. So, defensive coaches aren't necessarily the guys that win. anymore. Last year, who won? Sean McVay. Offensive-minded. Year before that, it was the Bucks. Bruce Arians, offensive-minded. Year before that, Chiefs. Andy Reid, offensive-minded. And the year before that, it was Bill Belichick. Alright. But the last 3 years, it's been offensive-minded coaches. Defensive coaches just aren't as successful anymore. Bill Belichick was the outlier for a while. Because other than Belichick, in the last 10 years, it's been mostly offensive-minded coaches. Again, other than Belichick, but Belichick dominated for a while. Other than him, who won? Doug Peterson. Mainly offensive-minded. Year before that, Belichick again. And then you had Belichick again, and then you had Pete Carroll, I think it was, 2014. Anyway, getting off track here. Defensive coaches are becoming less and less successful. Offensive coaches are starting to dominate. Alright, that's all I gotta say. And that's the problem with Belichick, though, is he's not gonna change that easily. I don't know if he ever is. I think he's just gonna ride this one out. Because I don't think Belichick. He's a little like Westbrook, where he has. He's just gonna stick to the style he used to win before. Westbrook won MVP and was very talented for a while with the way he played, He was the triple-double king. He is the triple-double king, But he's not the player he used to be. And his style isn't as successful anymore. Now, Belichick, he can't really not be the coach he used to be, because it's not, you don't age out of being a creative coach. But your ideas can age. Your ideas can start to become, like I just said, less and less successful. Westbrook probably could have fought and still been an MVP candidate multiple times using his, triple-double style. But he aged out of that. He can't do that anymore. Now he has to adjust to being more of a role player, which is just something Westbrook can't do. I understand that. But Belichick, he can adjust. He really can. He just won't. Alright. So there is still a sticking point between the Nets and Kyrie. And like I just said, I'm very skeptical of Kyrie because he just isn't reliable. Like pretty much every other great NBA player is. Giannis is reliable. LeBron is reliable. Who else? Steph Curry's reliable. Who else? Chris Paul is reliable, even though he's not really a top player right now. He is a top leader, which Kyrie is not. But best NBA players are reliable. And they're good. You can't just be good and unreliable, Like Kyrie had a 60-point game at some point this year. And he averaged 27 points a game in the games he played. How terrific is that? He played 29 games, guys. 29. Played 29 games. Out of 82. That's like... I can't even do that math. Like, 29 out of 82 games, that's barely even a third, I think, of the game. It's barely even a third of the games in the NBA season. And the worst part is Kyrie. It's like he just doesn't really have anything. Like what he has, the Nets already have. Like that's the thing about him being a trade asset for the Nets. Like that's why I think they should get rid of him, because what Kyrie can provide is something they already have. Shooting, they got that. You know, Patty Mills, KD. But does he distribute? No. Do the Nets have distributors? No. But Kyrie can't fix that. Does he have defense? No. He's not reliable on defense. So not reliable. Doesn't distribute. Doesn't have defense. I don't know how he could be good for any team. I mean, some teams are just desperate like that, but I really don't think he can provide much for any team. Alright, shifting gears back to the trade situation that could happen, but I wouldn't expect the Lakers to go through with it. The Nets might want to go through with it, but I don't think the Lakers should. Obviously, I'm talking about the Kyrie AD trade scenario that I've heard multiple people talk about it. I personally do not think it's a good idea for the Lakers. I think it would be good for the Nets to get AD, because the problem with AD not being available every night and always getting injured is LeBron is the same thing. That's why they can't succeed. That's why they're a mess. Now, KD, if you can give KD nights, because KD, he gets injured, but not often, So he'll tweak a knee once in a while or something. But it's not like LeBron, where LeBron's injuries have come. He's had at least one injury that kept him out for at least 20 games for the last 3 years. That's just that's the player he's become, and it comes from age, it's hard to last this long. Kareem did it, but he didn't, use his body the way LeBron did early in his career. LeBron was very athletic early in his career, even into his Miami years in his prime. He was still very athletic. Kareem was never like that. He was just a post scorer, really. It's hard. It's really hard to play 20 years in the NBA for anyone without having your problems, injury-wise. But that's why the Lakers isn't the best situation for Anthony Davis. Because he's not going to win a ring playing with a guy that does the same thing as him. KD, I think, is more available than LeBron is, injury-wise. So I think AD would be upgrading his situation going there, and I think he would upgrade the Nets. Fortunately, Kyrie would not do the same for the Lakers. And the worst part, the thing is, it would be a defensive downgrade for the Lakers, number one. Now, it's interesting, Kyrie and LeBron reunion, they were great in Cleveland together. But he's less reliable than he was when he was in Cleveland. Now, first of all, he wasn't even injured last year. He was taking those nights off by choice. he missed those games by choice. It was just... It's not like he was injured or anything. It's not like he had an aching injury or anything. That was just kept getting worse. He chose to miss 53 games. How can you trust someone like that? Especially, you'd be getting rid of AD, who's supposed to be your young guy. Honestly, your most reliable guy. You'd be getting Kyrie, who'd be taking more nights off than he'd be playing. And you have LeBron, who can give you, 55 to 60 games a year now. With all his injuries. I just don't think he's a very reliable asset for any team in the league. And it would just be best. It's so hard to look at these situations, because for the Nets, it's best if they get rid of him. And for Kyrie, it's best if he goes somewhere else. But it's not best for the other teams to get Kyrie because he's not reliable. It's a very complicated situation. So I'm going to move on to my final segment of the day. So Chase Claypool said that Kenny Pickett, his mobility, is going to create plays throughout the season. The Steelers, I don't doubt Kenny Pickett's ability. He's athletic, he moves well. It's just the Ravens are going to be back healthy. The Bengals just took a huge step. The division's going to be tough. They got a rookie quarterback. First of all, last year they barely got into the playoffs and they got bounced the first round. They got a rookie quarterback. I think their coach is great. I think Mike Tomlin's a great coach, but rookie quarterback in a division that's mostly going to be filled with quarterbacks that are only getting better, Lamar and Joe Burrow. Maybe if Watson comes back. I do think Watson is still great, but I don't know if he's playing. So, I don't know. I just don't see the Steelers having a very successful season this year. Probably like a 7-10 team, maybe 8-9, I think. Very similar to this year. And again, I don't doubt that Kenny Pickett can develop into a great player, but he's not gonna do it right out of the gate. Alright, good stuff today. Still Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan. Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan. I will see you tomorrow.